Okay, so you just learned how to rotate points about a point. In 8th grade, you're only learning how to rotate it around the center. So the center, if you remember, is our point 0, 0, or the center of the graph. So you rotate shapes just like you rotate points. You have to take each point in the shape and you have to rotate it. So that will be given to you. So in order to rotate, you need an angle and you need a direction. So if you notice in the first one, it tells us to rotate 90 degrees clockwise. And if you remember, clockwise is the direction the clock goes. And counterclockwise is the opposite direction. So this is telling us to rotate this shape ABCD around the origin. We're going to assume it's around the origin because that's the topic that we're going to use. And then we are going to rotate it 90 degrees in the clockwise direction, so the way the clock is going to go. So what's really nice about graphs is to get from X to Y axis is a 90-degree angle. So each of these angles here are 90 degrees, which is really nice because that makes it really easy to rotate your shapes. So if I'm rotating 90 degrees clockwise, I am going to turn my paper in the direction the clock goes. So I want my shape to go this way. So clockwise would be this way. If you think about a hand on a clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So it's going in this direction. So I'm going to move my paper in that direction. So I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. So I'm going to rotate 90, looks like this. So now I want my shape to land here. And what I'm going to do now, before I rotate it, is I'm just going to list the points out. What are my original points? Because this might help us to plot. So my original points, I'm going to cross this out. What is point A? So if you look, I'm going 1, 2, 3 in my X direction, and my Y direction is 1. B is 3 in the X direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in my Y direction. C is 3, 4, 5, 6 in my X direction, and 5 in my Y direction. And D is 6 in my X direction and 1 in my Y direction. Okay, so now when we rotate our shape, you're going to act like this is now your X-axis and this is now your Y-axis. So now I'm going to plot just as if this were my X or my Y. So the point 3, 1 would be 3, 1. This would be my A prime. That's my new point. Remember, we label new points with a prime or an apostrophe. B is 3, 5, so I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that would be B prime. C prime would be 6, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, which would be here. This is C prime. And D prime would be 6, 1, which would be here. And then I'm just going to connect my dots because I am rotating the whole figure, the shape. So if you look, it looks like that rectangle just shifted this way 90 degrees. And that's how we rotate shapes. So it might ask you to list the coordinates of the new shape or your new figure. And we only use this strategy, renaming these axes, to help us plot. After we do that, when we name our new points, those are just the regular points as if you were looking at the coordinate graph like we usually do. So A prime is really 1, -3. B prime is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, -3. C prime is really 5, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And D prime is really 1, -6. So those are the directions on how to rotate shapes. So let's try another one. We're going to rotate this figure now 270 degrees. Now this doesn't give us a direction, but we can infer the direction because of the sign. So if it's positive, which 270 is positive, you're going to go in the direction of the quadrants. So if you remember, this is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, this is quadrant 3, and this is quadrant 4. So actually, positive angles are going in a counterclockwise direction. So this is really saying counterclockwise. So we're going to want our shape to rotate 270 degrees in this direction. So we're going to rotate it that way. So how much is 270 degrees when we're talking about 90? So remember, each of these axes makes a 90-degree angle with one another. So if I take 90 and I add 90 to it, I get 180 degrees. What happens if I add one more 90 to it? I get 270 degrees, which means I need to rotate 90 degrees 3 times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate my paper this direction. So I'm going to go, there's 90 degrees, so I did it once. There's 90 degrees again, I did it twice. And then there's 90 degrees again, so I did it 3 times. So I should be in this quadrant right here, quadrant 4. So if I rename my axes, so this would now be my y and this would now be my x, I'm going to plot just as I did before. So it might be helpful again to write your points down of the original figure. So my original, let's see, A was, I think it's the same as before. So 3, 1, 3, 5, 6, 5, and 6, 1. Okay, so go back to rotating 1, 2, 3. So I'm in this quadrant here. And so now I'm just going to plot these points as if these were my x and y axes. So 3, 1 would be 3, 1. That's my A prime. B would be 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. C would be 1, 2, 3, 6, 5. And D would be 6, 1. And so I can again draw my figure. And then I have to remember to turn it back to the regular way to write down your new points. So begin 1, negative 3, 5, negative 3, 5, negative 6, and 1, negative 6. So this is my shape rotated 270 degrees around the center of my coordinate grid. So you can kind of tell that my shape kind of twisted. It doesn't look, it's not the same, standing up the same way as it did up here. Also notice that we rotated 90 degrees clockwise this way, and we rotated 270 degrees counterclockwise, and we got the same figure. So depending on which way you rotate, you might get the same. If we rotate 180, we'd be here. Notice it'd be like right across in a straight line for both figures, which is cool. So that is how you rotate shapes around the center of the coordinate grid.